In the world of Dimeria, intelligent animal folks have risen to build civilizations, each with their own defining traits and unique cultures. There are reckless polecats, scheming magpies, enthusiastic turtles, and many other colorful folks with their own attitudes toward life. This is the world where Lands of Galzyr takes place, a world rich in both story and characters. This is the world you will explore in this game. Welcome to my preview of Lands of Galzyr. Hey everyone, this is Tagos, and today I'm bringing you my preview of Lands of Galzyr, which is currently being funded on Gamefound. It not only reached its funding goal, but already hit quite a few stretch goals. This is an adventure game where you explore, experience, and leave your mark on a persistent and open game world. You could compare this game to other narrative-driven story games, such as Sleeping Gods, but Lands of Galzyr is definitely a very unique experience. Before you start the game, you set up everything as described in the welcome letter that is included in the game. It tells you exactly which skills each adventurer has, how all cards need to be arranged, and which cards you will put in the different adventurer and save dividers. So you are ready to start your first game. Then you set up your first game by placing the card trays in everyone's reach and giving everyone their adventurer. And then you take all cards from the global save slot and set them up on and beside the map, depending on their function. Some of them depict locations, others show, for example, quests. Also, each adventurer receives all the cards from their slot. And then finally you place quest markers on the map, the prestige markers of each adventurer on the 0 slot on the prestige track, and the rest of the components such as dice and skill markers within everyone's reach. This is then how your play area looks like. In this example I chose the adventurer Aysala, the River Kingfisher, a resourceful adventurer with a pretty tragic backstory. On the right you see her quests and current companions. Also the character card has all the mastered skills and the dial for the amount of gold you have at your disposal. In the beginning your character meeple is on the card of the first part of the personal story, but soon it is placed on the world map. Then you're pretty much ready to start the game. Each round consists of each player doing 2 actions: traveling and resolving a story quest. To travel, you move your adventurer figure up to 2 times to an adjacent space on the game board connected by a route. You see here these routes. Also, there are cities that connect several routes together. So if you don't want to travel, you don't have to. Then you need to resolve a quest. There are a lot of places you can get quests from, for example quest cards, adventurer status cards, or locations cards on the map where your figurine is placed. If you can't or don't want to choose any quest, you just draw a card from the event deck and resolve that scene, depending on the location you're currently at. For experiencing scenes, you use the Book of Adventures, which is a web application you can use on any device with an internet connection and access to an internet browser. You can also download that book so you can use it offline later. This is a really good move, so you don't always need internet access just once to download it. Snowdale Design decided to use a digital version of the book only, since it contains more than 300,000 words. That would be a lot to print, similar to 2 to 3 full-size novels, and also this way Snowdale Design can update the story after having published it. With the digital version it is much more handy, but I will get back to the Book of Adventures in a little bit. The main mechanics you need to work with when resolving a scene are decision making and skill checks. The story master selects the chosen scene from the scene list in the Book of Adventures and reads it aloud. All effects must be resolved completely. Additionally, it is possible that the active player is asked questions throughout the scenes. These the player must answer truthfully. Also, it is possible that there are choices to be made. These are mainly connected to skill challenges. So, let's speak about skill challenges next. Many options or choices in the Book of Adventures involve such skill checks that have multiple possible outcomes. Skill checks have difficulty ratings that require different number of successes. To perform a skill check, you take 5 black basic dice to assemble your dice pool. For each skill mark on your adventurer board, you can swap 1 basic black die for a corresponding advanced skill die. Generally, you want to use skill dice of the tested skill and the ones adjacent to it, given your adventurer has skill marks there at all. This is a genius way of dealing with skill checks, especially since you will not become stronger during the adventure, but you're able to change the skills you're proficient at. So you will be able to specialize yourself in specific skills. That's a pretty cool move. The quests have quite a large variety. For example, take this one here. I found a quest, but I can't resolve it because some information is missing. This is symbolized by a ripped piece of paper not showing me the number I need to input into the Book of Adventures, at least not the complete number. But when I continue following that quest, I learn the needed information and receive a new quest card that only shows the missing part of the number. This design is ingenious, and details like this make the world as alive and exciting as it is. Also, I should mention that each player has a marker on a prestige track. You gain prestige during your adventure, which directly affects outcomes of specific story points. For example, it directly affected the ending of my first game. Again, a very good design. So let's take a look at an early quest I received during the game. While on the road, I encountered quest 0058, which I'm entering into the book of adventures. The story reads the following. You're walking by the water when you suddenly notice a glimmer next to a rock, not too far away from the shore. Your curiosity sets in, and you try to figure out a way to reach whatever the glinting thing is. This time of the year, the water is warm and pleasant to swim in, but there could also be another way to approach. So also I would get an extra success for the tag dive, which I don't have. I might be an okay swimmer, but I'm skilled in noticing things around me, so I'm choosing option B. Search the area for alternative options. Alright, so let's say I roll 2 eyes, so I click on the middle option and the story continues. You find a dead tree lying on the ground. It's light enough for you to move and use it as a makeshift bridge. As you cross the water, you see that the glimmer is caused by a bottle with a note inside it. But what does it say? And below the text you see that I discarded this part of the quest, but I gained something new. So how does this continue? Well, I'll have to continue following this quest line with the new card I received. So now you have seen an example of how questing works in Lands of Galzyr. This was a very short and easy example, but I think it displays the way you go about it quite well. It's done very well, if I do say so myself, being a regular game master for tabletop RPGs myself. After each player has moved and resolved a scene each, you move the day marker one space ahead and the players begin with the next round. After a specified number of rounds, depending on the number of players, this is all noted in the rulebook, the game is over and the last scene that lies beside the world map is resolved. The game is then over, but only a small episode in the adventure of your characters has been played. You can then either save the game for a later point in time, which is solved very conveniently, or immediately continue with the next episode. And that is how Lands of Galzyr works. Of course, it's much deeper than that, but my description should give you the basic idea of how the game works. So what do I think about the game? Wow, I definitely love what I've played of it in this demo preview. It was very sad to actually stop playing. As usual, let me talk about the positives first. I'll start with theme and artwork, and that is just gorgeous. Just like in their other games, Snowdale Design has created a very beautiful game here with a lot of attention to detail. You can see that a lot of love went into this. Also, the components are great. The cards have a great quality, the same also applies to everything else. The character ports, the tokens and the dice. The great component quality and beautiful art make playing the game even more fun. The game mechanics are done really well, especially the skill system with the different dice really displays the skill of your chosen character. Each character can change skills during the adventure, which also changes their specialization. And if you are unlucky, there are ways to mitigate your dice rolls if you're lucky, because specific items that you may find on your adventures may have an option for rerolling your dice, for example. The quests and side stories I've experienced are wonderful. They are very detailed and truly interesting to read. I can't wait to dive into all the stories you can experience when you play with the game multiple times and when actually all cards are in the box in the full version. There will be more cards in the final version than in the preview version I have access to right now. There's a lot to discover and the world seems to be really massive. Although I do like the component quality, the gold dial is not quite as firm as I would like it to be. I can imagine that it could be rotated slightly when it's stored in the game box. Maybe that's one thing that could be addressed. And that concludes my preview for Lands of Galzyr. As a fan of story-based board games, I can't wait to get the final version to my hand. If you know my channel, you are aware of the fact that I like the games of Snowdale Design, since they all ooze so much charm and personality. The same applies to Lands of Galzyr. You can see how much love went into this, and I'm sure there will be countless adventures to be had and stories to be told. As of recording this video, the project is still live on Gamefound. If the game interests you, I definitely recommend 100% that you check this game out. I definitely love what I've played so far and I can wholeheartedly recommend Lands of Galzyr. So, if you're still watching, thank you very much for sticking until the very end. I highly appreciate that. Why don't you drop by my channel and check out my other board gaming videos? Alright, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.